Welcome to Talkin Baloney.
Calvin Cocoa Pop.
This is Boochie.
Oh, gosh.
What is going on?
No script allowed.
What are you, some kind of bot? Come on, people.
Oh, yeah. You want a pickle, you gotta give him a pickle, right?
I want to be a movie star.
Wow, that sounds so interesting.
Fresh and quick.
Cheese, pizza.
Part of the Baloney Nation.
Jim Deezy.
You guys still there?
The big guy. What's going on, man?
Jim Deezy, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
Talkin Baloney.
Yeah, back on the show together again, man.
Yeah, and what a week to be back together. We're in the middle of March Madness. You've got spring in the air.
Yeah.
A little bit warmer. Baseball is about to start.
Yeah.
Who could ask for anything more?
And the Giants are doing some major things in the offseason right now for the NFL game.
Have they done anything?
Yeah, they've actually made some pretty substantial moves in the offseason.
Okay.
Yeah, and I see the NFL just announced today they're going to go to 17 games.
Yeah.
People are not happy.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think so either. Let's throw another week of abuse on a player's body.
And since we're talking NFL, did you see that the Thursday night games are going to Amazon?
Everything is going to Amazon. Hell, pretty soon we'll be filming this from an Amazon warehouse.
Ooh, it doesn't spell good news for our pee breaks.
No breaks allowed at Amazon.
Save your bottles.
Yeah. So how's everything going up there in the Rock?
Well, it's pretty exciting this week because we are entering Sitcom Madness.
Ooh, we've been waiting for this show for a while. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Gonna be big.
So this was actually a suggestion from one of our Baloney Nation viewers to kind of figure out what is the best sitcom of all time, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And who says we don't listen to our viewers?
Sure, not me.
Never said it.
By the way, we'll have another correction from Aunt Paula later in the show during Baloney Nation. But first,
Damn her.
Let's take a look at this. This is the bracket. So just like the NCAA March Madness, we have 64 TV sitcoms broken down into 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today. And we are going to narrow this down so we get the best of the best.
I love it. Let's dive right into it.
All right. So we're going to start with the 80s because, I mean, that's our bread and butter, right?
Correct. Pays the bills.
So first off.
Oh, boy. That's a tough one right off the bat.
Yeah. Number 1 seed is Cheers. And number 16 seed, Full House.
I'm going to dive right out there and go Cheers. I just like the show better. I listen, I love the family sitcom. Love it. But Cheers, man, so much came out of Cheers.
Right. Cheers is one of the best written TV shows I think you're going to find.
Correct.
It's witty. It's not just a bunch of jokes.
Mm-hmm. You know, Full House would have got a little higher vote in my book, but I paid for college, so I don't know. Hey.
Well, I think since we're starting this, we should maybe establish some criteria. Like how are we going to compare the shows and rank them?
Let's do almost like a speed round. Spend about maybe 10 seconds or so justifying the decision.
All right, yeah, we'll give a little brief reasoning. Mm-hmm. But I think the things to consider, A, is it a show we like? B, was the show really successful? And C, does it have like a lasting impact or a legacy? Gotcha.
So, sounds good. Cheers, definitely lasting legacy.
Cheers is a show still today. People talk about it.
Still got it on my ringtone for the introduction to the show.
So let's go to the next bracket. We got Three's Company ranked 8th against Who's the Boss?
This is a tough one, but I'm gonna go Three's Company. I like the whole, I loved Who's the Boss, but Three's Company, again, they were breaking barriers there with the show. They, guy living with the girl or the girls, and listen, Mr. Roper, enough said.
And Mr. Farley after that.
Yes.
Don Knotts is a comedy legend.
Yeah. And just the stories on the show, and just, I get the Who's the Boss thing. I get it. But yeah, I'm staying Three's Company.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like Who's the Boss wasn't really a show for me. I didn't like it that much. Mm-hmm. Whereas Three's Company, I would still watch it if I see it on TV today.
Still showed on TV on some of the higher stations on the satellite to this day.
It is.
Yep. Still on TV.
Next up is a tough one. We got 5th ranked Growing Pains against 12th ranked Facts of Life.
I'm going to go Facts. Damn it. I'm going to go Growing Pains over Facts of Life.
Okay.
Growing Pains had the family structure, had the, these are real issues going on. Facts of Life, I get it, take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, there you bad, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It was great. It was catchy. It's a good show for its time. But for family structure, I'm going the other direction.
Okay. I agree. I think Growing Pains is kind of an underrated show, right?
Mm-hmm. Ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Blair was a little too annoying for me on the other show. That's probably part of my reasoning.
Well, I think Facts of Life started out as a good show, but the longer it was on, the less. I mean, they had to go through all kinds of storyline twists as a reason why these 4 girls had stuck together after, they should have all moved apart.
Yeah.
Interesting
Agreed.
about both these shows against each other. Leonardo DiCaprio was on later seasons of Growing Pains, and George Clooney was on later seasons of Facts of Life.
Amazing.
Yeah. Who would have guessed?
Little tidbits.
Here's another tough one. Family Ties versus Elf.
Oh man, you're throwing a rough one at this. I love both of these shows.
Same here.
I'm gonna go Family Ties.
This is gonna get tough the whole way through. There's not a lot of easy answers in this.
Yeah, I previewed this earlier, and I'm still on the fence on a lot of these, but I'm gonna go Family Ties. I love Alf. I love the concept. It was ahead of its time. But Family Ties, man, there was so much going on in that show. It wasn't just a TV show. I can remember when the whole family would sit down and watch that show.
Yeah. And I think as much as I love Alf, Alf is kind of a one-joke show. Like, Alf is funny. Mm-hmm. The family, the characters, you could take them or leave them. It wasn't a complete show, even though Alf was probably funnier himself than Family Ties was funny. But
yeah. And look at what Family Ties spawned out over the years. I mean,
launched Michael J. Fox. I mean,
yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah. So I mean, we would have Back to the Future.
Yeah. Or we would have had Back to the Future, but with Eric Stoltz as the star.
Oh, look at oh my God, this one's gonna be hard.
Golden Girls versus WKRP in Cincinnati.
I liked WKRP in Cincinnati. Big fan of the show, but I'm gonna go Golden Girls only because this goes back to that family night thing again, where I can remember those times everybody's sitting around the TV and remembering you could see every member of my family in one of those ladies.
in the ladies. Which one was Butch?
Who've been more along the lines like my grandmother and my mom, characters like that. Like, my Aunt Annie and
I can see Butch as like the Betty White character, a little aloof.
Yeah, definitely. Having a little bit of fun with this character. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna go Golden Girls on that. I even have the pajamas to prove it.
I don't know what that means.
I actually, my wife bought me pajama pants to say the Golden Girls on them. They got their pictures all over them.
So no matter how much you want, I will not edit that out of the show. That will remain in the show. So,
Thank you.
Next up, Taxi versus Different Strokes.
Oh, now I'm gonna go Different Strokes on this one.
Okay.
Only because don't get me wrong, Taxi, awesome show. Probably better of a show than Different Strokes.
Okay.
But I'm going to go Different Strokes only because, again, it's that I remember looking forward to watching the next episode and looking forward to watching the next show. And Taxi was a little bit past our bedtime, I think, when that came out, wasn't it?
It probably was. Now, I personally remember watching Taxi when it would be on. I think it was on at like 5:30 in the afternoon on WETM for a couple of years. So I remember watching every episode that way. And I think Taxi, I have it ranked third. I think it's one of the better shows of all time. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely a good show. Nostalgia, I'm going to go the Different Strokes route.
Okay. I will cede to your choice.
What you talking about, big guy?
There it is.
I'm here all week.
Next up, how about Wonder Years versus Night Court?
Oh my God, you're throwing a rough one at me, man. This is
two very different shows. Wonder Years, very, very realistic, set in the 60s, a really good storytelling as well as funny. And then Night Court, which was just hilarious hijinks.
Oh, yeah. And the judge and Bull and all the characters in that, from the public defender, the prosecutor, even the bailiffs, Roz, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Love the show. Probably one of my favorite comedy shows on TV at the time. But, man, the Wonder Years has got so much. It was just a show at the time that was just like, wow, I can feel I could feel the characters. You know what I mean? Like I could believe it. I could feel what was going on.
Yeah, it felt like a real story. Like these were kids that you knew, even though, we actually had someone that kind of reminded me of Paul that we went to school with. Had the glasses, seemed to be allergic to everything.
Yeah. And the characters, even though he was younger then, like the Fred Savage characters and stuff, those characters don't come around that often. Played perfectly.
All right. So I think we're in agreement that the Wonder Years, in a close call.
Tough. It's close. It's like that close.
This is like an overtime matchup that came down to the last second. But Night Court, it's not as complete a show, I think, is the problem.
Agreed.
And to round out the 80s bracket, the first round, Cosby Show versus Newhart.
Oh, man. It's tough, but I'm going to stay away from all the legal things that happened outside of all of this. I'm going to stay just in the time frame of the show. Cosby Show at the time was probably the best show on TV. I'm gonna still. I love the Newhart Show, and I only watched that, in reruns later on. So I was never a Newhart guy when it first came out, but awesome show. But I'm definitely gonna go Cosby Show here. Like the Cosby Show touched on every topic, and it touched on topics, and I use that term "touched" loosely, folks. I'm saying they went to the realm.
You really avoided the political stuff there, didn't you?
They went to topics that were unheard of at the time, from drugs to other things. And it was good to see that show on TV at the time.
And yeah, so the Cosby Show was like the biggest hit in television for a couple of seasons. It was an unstoppable monster.
Mm-hmm.
And so was Bill Cosby, it turns out. But that's enough about that. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue on with the 90s.
Welcome back, man. Second round or 90s now.
That's right. We are doing Sitcom Madness. We're breaking down the top 64 sitcoms of the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today. And we are into the 90s bracket.
Ooh.
Our opening matchup, the number one ranked Seinfeld versus Just Shoot Me.
Oh, this one's easy. Seinfeld all the way.
Yeah.
I've watched episodes of Just Shoot Me. I've even seen it in the reruns, and I could never get into it. I mean, it's funny, but
I like it.
I
like Just Shoot
good
Me.
Show. Yep. It was
David
all right.
Spade
Yep.
always delivers a good punchline.
Yeah.
We should mention George Siegel, the star of Just Shoot Me, just recently passed away.
Yes, I saw that. Also, the father and the grandfather,
Yep.
the Goldbergs.
That's right. The Goldbergs will be coming up in a later bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So George Siegel is represented here, but I agree. Seinfeld is, number one seed. You got to advance them. They're top show.
I can tell you right now, man, Seinfeld is going to be a tough one to beat in this bracket.
It is, and if you consider a lot of people say it's one of the best shows of all time, you got to say it's a front runner.
Yeah, agreed.
This is a tough one, a clash of styles. 8 seed, Married with Children versus 9 seed, The Larry Sanders Show.
Okay. Love The Larry Sanders Show. I was fortunate enough to have HBO back in the day when that was the only place you could watch it. And I love the show, but I'm going to go with Married with Children on this one because I think it just crushes it. Man, you can't say or do anything that they did on that show anymore.
Well, that's true.
Yes. I go back and I watch the show now because there's a station on the Dish Network that shows all these old shows. And I listen to, Bundy say some of his stuff and Peg say some of her stuff. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
Yeah. Not today.
And trust me, they were politically incorrect for their time as well. Were constantly, people were saying like that show goes too far. And now it's like even farther.
Yeah.
To say nice things about Larry Sanders Show, I didn't have HBO, but I've since gotten it, and I've binged it like twice, the whole series. It is a really good show. It's smart.
He was ahead of his time.
It's a great send-up of the entertainment business, the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff, all the stuff with the late-night shows that was going on at the time where Leno and Letterman were fighting, and Jon Stewart was going to come in and take over. And it is a really good show. And
I'm with you.
I hate to do it, but Married with Children is pretty much an institution and put the Fox network on the map.
Yeah.
I think you got to advance them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Next up, South Park, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay. So I loved Everybody Loves Raymond. Everything about that show I liked. They're real stories. Raymond's character was kind of quirky. Was he the sports editor or something for the newspaper?
Yeah, sports writer.
Yep. I liked that show. I liked the show a lot. Had the parents across the street. That would be kind of cool. I can actually say I've been in that situation before. I could, but I tell you, man, it's a tough one, but I'm probably going to go Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay. This is going to be a disagreement then.
All right.
South Park is a show that's changed a lot. When it started, it was kind of a risque comedy about these four kids doing all kinds of different things. And it became like a social commentary show that touches on every subject.
Now,
it's
if
kind
you
of
were
a brilliant show, I think.
if you were to ask me South Park now versus Raymond, I would say South Park.
Well, it is South Park now.
All right, so then let me change my answer because
Okay.
that pandemic show they did and the show after the pandemic, probably two of my favorite shows on TV right now. So I am changing it for the record to South Park.
Well, and let me explain some of the seating, since this is I think the first instance we ran into this, and it's going to be an issue with the next bracket. South Park debuted in 1997, so I've placed it in the 90s bracket, even though it is still on the air today.
Okay.
The next one is The Simpsons versus Coach. And The Simpsons has been on the air since 89, I think.
Yep.
You're talking about a show that's still on the air. It's like 33 seasons. And you almost want to break it into like Simpsons A, Simpsons B, Simpsons C. Because it's changed so much over the years.
Listen, The Simpsons is so big. They've had their own music videos, their own toy line, their own movies. A Coach was a good show.
Simpsons has its own section of a theme park.
But how can you not go with The Simpsons here? Like, I mean, Coach was a good show.
Coach is good.
Yeah, but what were they on? 7 seasons?
I think less than that.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, the Coach, awesome character. Although that one guy that was kind of like that guy,
Jerry Van Dyke, Dick Van Dyke's brother, or Dauber, the big idiot.
Him, the big idiot.
Yeah.
I could not stand that guy on the show. I don't know why. Maybe it was the haircut. I don't know.
I loved it because Coach would get so mad. He would say, "Dauber, you idiot."
You can't say that on TV no more.
Probably not.
But I'm gonna go with The Simpsons here, and I didn't watch a lot of Simpsons for a long time. Didn't watch a lot of it, and just seeing stuff now, just knowing, man, you can't go anywhere and not see that name.
It's true. The Simpsons is an all-timer. They're tough to beat. I just wish if we did this 20 years ago, I would have had The Simpsons ranked number 1 and probably would have pushed them all the way to the Final Four without a doubt. It's just it hasn't been the same show for like 15 years. It's kind of been mediocre.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you go to Universal Studios or Disney, I forget which theme park, they have an entire Simpsons village recreated.
Yeah, it's pretty
Not
insane.
many sitcoms have that, right?
Yeah. I'm with you. Simpsons all the way.
Next up is Roseanne at the 6th seed versus News Radio.
Now, I will tell you, people are going to hate me for this, but I'm going Roseanne. I get it. There's some political stuff there, but outside that.
That's right. We don't talk politics.
Yeah.
And we're going to judge these shows based on.
We're going to spit facts. Yeah, we're going to spit facts. It was a ratings juggernaut back in the day. How can you not? I mean, my God, every American family had something that you could reminisce about. Hey, Roseanne, I could see part of this in my family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm staying with Roseanne. I mean, the reboot that they're doing now, I when they killed her off because of whatever, but the Roseanne then, and even the Roseanne now, I've watched it with my wife. It's funny. And then the Roseanne's sister, she kills it on the show. Absolutely kills it on the show. She's hilarious. But I like how they've progressed with the family through the years, and I guess they keep telling the story, and it makes sense. They just didn't throw characters together and say, whatever. And they touch on some really hot topic issues right now, and I kind of like that. So
Okay. I'll probably agree that Roseanne should advance.
mhm.
I will defend News Radio because it was one of my favorite shows.
Okay, yep.
Phil Hartman.
Love Phil
who
Hartman.
Everyone knows from Saturday Night Live and
Mhm.
his voices on The Simpsons. He is tremendous on News Radio. It's
Mhm.
worth watching to see him. But you
Mhm.
also have Andy Dick, Joe Rogan, Dave Foley. Tons of talented people, and it's a funny show.
Yeah.
Probably to show like it doesn't have the lasting impact. I don't think it's available to stream anywhere,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's on DVD anywhere. So you might have a hard time finding that show if you want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now here's a tough one: Frasier, number 3 seed versus The Critic.
Whew. I'm gonna go Frasier all the way here.
Yeah.
I-
Well, Frasier, yeah, it's a no doubter.
Yeah. It's because and Frasier's just, and I've just started watching Frasier again on that TV station that we get that has all the old shows on it, and the comedy, the humor, and the time. It's not just about slapstick humor in some of these shows. There's timing to everything, and
Yes.
it makes it funny. It makes it funnier where it's serious, but it's timing and just the yeah.
Frasier
It's just-
is one
you
of the best written shows.
Yeah.
And it does the classic sitcom stuff. Similar stuff
Mhm.
you saw in Three's Company, where one character mishears something that someone else said and then reacts
Mm-hmm.
to it, and then it creates this spiral of misunderstandings and hilarity.
Yeah.
It's a
Great
classic.
show. Great show.
And yeah, The Critic is a funny show. It was
Mhm.
really good. John Lovitz, gotta
Mhm.
love him.
Yeah.
But Frasier is much better.
Yeah. Much better.
How about Home Improvement versus The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
So you absolutely are throwing me for a loop with this one because I love both the shows. I love Home Improvement because I'm a Home Improvement kind of guy too. I love Tim Allen. He's funnier than hell. I love his backstory. But Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I'm sorry, I gotta go Fresh Prince. I do. It's
Okay.
I don't know, man. The Carlton, the whole, just everything about that. It's one of those shows again where I can remember making time out of my day to watch that.
And I would argue that Fresh Prince has a better legacy
Hmm.
and is a longer lasting show. Like, Fresh Prince is still relevant today. It's still seen everywhere.
Yeah, and
Home
and
Improvement
again,
is kind of like been forgotten a little.
yeah, and Fresh Prince again, another one of those shows, touched on a lot of hot topic issues at the time, and Home Improvement kind of stayed in house, so to speak. Like if there was an issue, it was always something that was inside the house. It was always whatever. And we all knew what the neighbor looked like, even though he always just peeked over the fence. But we all knew what he looked like because they show everything but his lips.
Yeah. And he was like a character actor that you saw in TV commercials and movies, and he was everywhere.
Yeah. So I love Tim Allen, love the show, but I'm going to go Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It has a lasting memory with me. So
Gotta love it.
yeah.
How about the number 2 seed Friends?
You already know where I'm going Friends all the way on this one.
Yeah.
Mad About
Friends,
You was a funny show. But I'm going Friends. There's just too much going on with Friends at the time. It was the hot show. It had everything going on the show. Everybody had a character they loved. You followed that show from week to week.
That's right. They did storylines that
Yeah.
actually, people were really into the Ross and Rachel.
Yeah, and their storylines carried over. You had to keep watching to know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going Friends all the way on this one. Even though Mad About You was a good show, it didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I ranked it 15th. I don't think it had a lasting legacy, even though they brought it back like 2 years ago. No one even cared that it was back.
Mm-hmm.
Probably most people don't even know it was back because it was a Spectrum original.
It did not.
And I don't know if it was really that funny a show to begin with. You had to really like Paul Reiser, I think, to enjoy
And
that
see,
show.
I always thought Paul Reiser was Steve Guttenberg. Who knew?
You might be onto something. Well, we're going to quickly move into the 2000s bracket.
Let's do it. Woo-hoo.
So this is highlighted by the number 1 seed, The Office, going against 16 seed Will and Grace.
Yeah, it's The Office.
Yeah?
I'm not even
really?
I'm not even going to contest this one. There's no. This
This
show
might
is
be
gonna
the first episode you haven't had a Dunder Mifflin hat or shirt on.
I know. I got something around here somewhere I can probably get. Office all the way. We don't even have to debate this one.
Yeah. Move on. Number 8 seed, 2.5 Men. Number 9 seed, Reno 911.
I loved Reno 911, and I love 2.5 Men. Charlie Sheen, funny guy. I love the show. Reno 911, a little ahead of his time, kind of like a comedy cops.
Yes. It was a mockumentary, presented like it was a real thing, really happening.
That being said, I'm probably going to go 2.5 Men. Just because there was some storytelling going on there. It was funny, Yeah. But Reno 911 sometimes a little overboard.
Yes. I'm not a fan of 2.5 Men.
No.
I find it's one of those sitcoms where it's just punchline after punchline without the punchlines take precedence over the story or the character. Having said that, it's a bigger hit than Reno 911.
Yeah.
And even though I would rather watch Reno 911 all day long, I think you have to advance 2.5 Men.
I agree. And if it was on an island and I only had 2 things to watch, I would watch Reno 911.
Number 5 seed, Family Guy versus Eastbound and Down. Featuring the lovely Kenny Powers as played by Danny McBride.
Eastbound and Down all the way. Now, I let me defend my decision here. I know people are going to eat me up for saying Family Guy. I never found Family Guy funny.
Okay.
Never found that show funny. I thought, I don't know. I was never listen, I like The Simpsons. My wife's got me into South Park. But Family Guy to me, just not funny. I don't know why. A talking dog, I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, I watched Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. And I feel like I'm really having to defend myself here. But it's
Well, so this is the first one we've come across in this sitcom thing where we've run into that believability thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get past the fact that there's also a baby that talks too. Who's super smart.
Stewie, yeah. Right? And I get it. There's people love the Family Guy. Hey, I get it.
It's been on since 1999.
Yeah, long running show, but I'm definitely not my cup of tea. Eastbound and Down was funnier than All Get Out.
Oh, it's a favorite of mine.
One of my favorite shows.
Love the character of Kenny Powers. I think it's one of the best characters on TV. It's a little bit brash for people who aren't used to certain language, constantly thrown in your face.
Literally.
So we're going to advance Eastbound and Down over Family Guy? Is that what we're doing?
We are, yes.
Okay. Wow. That's our first really big upset, I think.
Here's the thing, and I'll go back to this Family Guy thing one more time. How much can you keep telling the story over? I think probably here's my believability issue with it. Nobody ages on the show.
So, yeah. Well, it's an animated cartoon.
And nothing, every story's the same from week to week. It seems.
Okay, so Family Guy started out a very different show than it is now. I think in the beginning, Family Guy was a lot funnier because it was just take no prisoners. Here's a bunch of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain time, it became, we want to be like the Simpsons. We want to have heartwarming stories. We want to be considered a family show more than outrageous. And it's not as good a show. It's kind of weak the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we didn't advance it, but I understand.
But you know, when Family Guy first came out, they were kind of like the Bundy's show, the cartoon version.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw everything at you. We're gonna make sure you're talking about us at the water cooler. And yeah.
Well, when those early season shows show up on repeats, I watch them.
Yeah.
I just watched one the other night. Those early seasons are really good, Family Guy.
Yep.
All right. How about number 4 seed Arrested Development and number 13 That 70s Show?
Okay, this is a tough one. I like That 70s Show. It spawned a lot of careers for a lot of people. But Arrested Development was ahead of its time.
Yes. Arrested Development is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
I recently just rewatched the whole series. Can't get enough of it. It's got great humor.
Yeah, well written.
Very well written.
Mm-hmm.
Characters that are unforgettable and consistent. Like those actors knew what they were doing and they played the character the right way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Walter, who played the grandmother on the show, just passed away as well.
Mm-hmm.
She'll also appear in the brackets when we talk about Archer, where she played the mother of Archer.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go Arrested Development.
I'm going to go Arrested Development with you. And one of the big things I love the 70s show, but one of the things I didn't like about the 70s show is it almost gets to a point where every episode's the same again.
Yeah. And it probably also was on the air for probably too long. Because towards the end, they started losing the bigger name cast members, and I didn't watch it all the way.
Yep. So I'm going Arrested Development with you.
Right. Here's a tough one. How I Met Your Mother, number 6, versus Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay, so
a clash of styles.
I was never a big fan into Always Sunny in Philadelphia, probably because I never really watched many episodes of it.
Oh.
And Arrested Development. Wait, what's the other show? What's the other movie? How I Met Your Mother. Yeah. So I just recently have started watching this a little bit, only because when my mother-in-law was here, it was on all the time, and it's not a bad show. They seem to have a lot of they're very similar shows. I guess if we could end one of these in a tie, it'd be this one right here.
Wow.
But I'm going to go with How I Met Your Mother on this one.
Well, I'm going to go with Always Sunny.
Okay.
It's another show that's still on the air.
Okay.
It started as kind of a bunch of friends hanging in a bar, and then in the second season they added Danny DeVito, and the show just took off. Danny DeVito is awesome on this show.
Okay, so now I have not watched the show enough to make a good decision on this, so
I think you should start binging it.
I'll have to go back and actually watch the show.
FX on Hulu, you can watch all the seasons. You might notice Roddy Piper show up in an episode.
So I would say for the purpose of advancing this, I would side with you on your show. Only because it's not fair that I'm judging a show I really haven't watched.
All right.
And the fact that it's still on TV.
Curb Your Enthusiasm, featuring Larry David.
Yes.
Number 3 seed, and Scrubs at number 14.
Okay. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. And you remember back in the day, you had to have a movie channel to watch it.
Yep. It's HBO.
Yep. Larry David's funny. But I love his stuff on SNL too, where he makes his pop-in visits and stuff. He's a funny guy. The cast was good, well-written show. But I'm going Scrubs here. Scrubs was a thing for me for a while.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
If we're going to go with... So let's break it down. We're going to take longer than 10 seconds on this one.
Yeah.
Scrubs was a funny show. If we're going to go off which show was more well written, let's go with Curb Your Enthusiasm. Scrubs was one of those slapstick comedy, and it had a couple actors in it that I liked. And
I always had a problem with Scrubs in terms of believability, actually.
Now, they
seemed
did
like the
cross
kind
the
of
line
show where dream sequences or just things would happen that didn't actually happen, just like someone imagined it happened. That kind of stuff. I was never a fan of that.
One thing that used to drive me nuts about the show was you had everybody was serious, and then they weren't serious, and then they were serious, and they weren't serious. I had a hard time with that show on that, but it's definitely one of those shows I could watch. I had to watch it like late night. I could watch it.
Yeah.
But for pure advancement, who earned the spot, I would go Curb Your Enthusiasm only because it's a better, well-written show.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
I
well-rounded.
can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Larry's
tremendous.
over the top. He's over the top funny.
Next up, Malcolm in the Middle versus Futurama.
I'm going to go, I'm going to go Malcolm in the Middle.
I agree.
Yeah, it's got to be Malcolm in the Middle. I didn't watch a lot of Futurama. I did watch it, but Malcolm in the Middle.
I'm a big fan of Futurama. I like the show a lot. I think Malcolm in the Middle was probably a huge hit with younger people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So many people grew up with that show and identified as, that was like what our family was like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a bunch of brothers constantly tormenting each other. And
good show.
And it gave us Bryan Cranston as the father before he went on to become Breaking Bad and
a big drug dealer.
yeah. That's storyline. That's not Tim Allen. This is actually
a real. He's just for TV.
And to round out the 90s before we head to break, the number 2 seed is 30 Rock and Freaks and Geeks at 15.
Okay, so I've just recently watched some of the Freaks and Geeks stuff.
Oh, you did?
And yes, I did. I'm going to say, kind of like it. You know,
it's a really good show.
Caught me by surprise. I'm going to go with 30 Rock on this one. I don't know how you can't, really.
Yeah. 30 Rock is a really funny show.
Should be tell the dog.
Should I stop talking?
Yes. Let the dog know to be quiet.
Well, we could talk about Freaks and Geeks a lot because I think it is a really good show, and it actually had a surprising, lasting legacy, despite the fact that it got canceled after one season.
Yeah.
But 30 Rock is the number 2 seed. It's a really good show that needs to advance, just like we need to go and take a commercial break.
Correct.
We are back. It is Talkin Baloney. We are doing Sitcom Madness.
It's insane.
We've done the 80s, we've done the 90s, we've done the 2000s, and now we are tackling the Today bracket. And moving right along, because we're running out of time. Number 1 seed, Parks and Rec versus Silicon Valley on HBO.
Speed round, Parks and Rec.
Got to go Parks and Rec. It's a great show. It's a number 1 seed.
Yep.
This is a toss-up here. The Good Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. 9 seed.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine's funny.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is funny. Now, both these shows are from the same creative team, and it's the same creative team as Parks and Rec, which is also the same creative team from The Office. This is a good lineage of people.
Yep. I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I like the show. I listen, man, it's got some SNL people in it, and I'm going to go there. I'm going to go Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I'll agree. We'll advance Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'll say The Good Place is a good show, though, and Ted Danson is tremendous in it.
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek at number 5 versus Archer.
Okay.
12 seed.
now that I remember what Archer was, I actually thought it was a different show.
Yeah, you were thinking of Green Arrow.
Green Arrow, that's the show. And I was going back to my beef with with him and Cody Rhodes. They're like, I hate that show now. Yeah, I like Cody Rhodes. He's, I'm happy he's doing his thing now. And but off topic, I haven't watched enough of either one of these, so I'm gonna defer to you on this one because I want to be fair here.
All right. Well, that makes it tough. I gotta say, Schitt's Creek is a Emmy Award-winning show, and I only watched the first 2 seasons. I didn't find it to be that great. Archer has been on 9 seasons. I've watched every episode. I love it. I'm advancing Archer.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Upset, baby. Number 4, Veep versus Bob's Burgers.
Okay. As we were talking during the break, I don't know anything about Bob's Burgers. I do know a lot about Veep, and I will say Veep from Elaine from Seinfeld nails it out of the park.
Oh, Veep
very
is a tremendous show.
Tremendous show.
Very witty, very well written.
Edgy.
Great actors.
Edgy.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to go Veep.
For Bob Burgers fans out there, it's still on the air. It's a long-running animated show. It can be pretty funny, but Veep advances.
Correct.
Big Bang Theory at number 6 and Workaholics, the Comedy Central sitcom.
You cannot not advance Big Bang Theory. I would listen to every argument under the sun on this one, but again,
how's this
Theory,
for an argument? I hate Big Bang Theory. Is that a good argument?
I like it. But it's such a juggernaut of a show. It was the number 1 show on cable for the longest time. They've spawned other TV shows. They've spawned a whole Big Bang Theory line of toys, clothing.
All right. Screw it. How about Community at number 3 and BoJack Horseman?
Okay, so I don't know much about BoJack Horseman just from what you've told me, but I will say Community was one of those shows. You could get into it. It was a show, and it had Chevy Chase in it.
It did.
Yes.
Community is a great show.
Even though he was kind of an ass, from what I understand from the people that gave feedback on the show, but great show.
Community is a show I've rewatched, binged a couple of times. It's got that rewatchability to it. It's got long-running storylines, but it also episodes could be wildly different one episode to the next. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, Community is a great show. BoJack Horseman is critically acclaimed. It's really good too. I enjoy it. I think maybe 20 years from now, I would like to see whether it still holds up. I think you got to go with Community here.
I'm going to go with you, but you never know. BoJack Horseman might have sustainability down the road. We'll see.
Goldberg's at number 7 versus The League, a sitcom from FX.
So I'm a Goldbergs fan, so I'm going to be probably biased on this one. That's
right up your alley, the Goldbergs.
Yeah. I mean, that's my family
80s,
right there.
80s setting, family sitcom.
Yeah, that's my family.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Wonder Years, but a comedic version of it.
It's a more traditional sitcom.
Yeah,
it's more the ABC kind of sitcom.
Mm-hmm. You can remember when we were kids. The dads would come home from work and they were just kind of like, "Leave me alone." They had their chair, they had their spot, they had, So yeah. You didn't get a lot of emotion. You just got told, hey, good job. Keep doing what you're doing, or, don't bother me.
So I'll say something nice about The League. It's a show built around a fantasy football league, but it expanded well beyond that. And it was almost Seinfeld-like at times, the way they could take different stories and then tie them all together again. Mm-hmm. It was a funny show. It had Nick Kroll, who's very funny, and Jason Mantzoukas, who you might not know by name, but if you saw him pop up in a show with his curly hair and his beard, you would recognize him immediately as one of the funniest guys around.
Yep.
But I gotta probably go with the Goldbergs for you.
All right, man. Much appreciated.
Modern Family, number 2 seed, a big show, and Broad City, a Comedy Central sitcom.
I'm going Modern Family here. It's a juggernaut of a show. It had everything under the sun. There was seriousness to it, a lot of comedy. The dad, hilarious in the show. You know, Mr. I'm a magician, but I'm a real estate guy. Plus, it had Al Bundy in it.
That's right. And kind of like the premise of the show, the blending of different families and cultures. I mean, the show really was that. It had everything.
Yeah. And they touched on a lot of hot button topics that were just like, you didn't see a lot of that in shows, and they weren't afraid to go there. So yeah, I'm going Modern Family.
All right. So that completes the first round. We are going to continue next week. We're going to give the Baloney Nation a chance to answer.
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. I'll post the brackets on talkinbaloney.com.
Okay.
You'll be able to make your own picks. Let us know what we did wrong, who we should have picked. Let us know if a show got left off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right off the bat, there are shows that didn't make the 64 that people might wish had made it. King of Queens, I've already heard from someone. King of Queens should have made it.
Yeah.
We'll see what Baloney Nation says. Because it is time for Baloney Nation Hotline.
I will say this right now. One show that we left off that I can't believe we left off, Silver Spoons.
Okay. And it's a very deep bench when you're talking about the 80s.
And the Seavers.
The Seavers is Growing Pains.
Oh, yeah, never mind. What the hell was I thinking? Never mind. Forget I'm even here.
Some of our viewers have.
Hey!
Aunt Paula writes in on the Baloney Nation Hotline. Here's my correction for the week, Jim Deezy. Wahlberg is the last name, not Wahlburgers. No, I will say, I think I'm guilty of this. But you might have done it one or twice.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's funnier to say Wahlburgers.
Yeah, Donnie Wahlburgers.
Yeah, that's a great name. If he was in the mafia, that could be his nickname.
You know what? To be honest with you, if it said Transformers starring Mark Wahlburgers, I'd probably find it more interesting.
Oh, sign me up.
Give me 10 of them and make them not funny.
So again, 585-484-1770 if you have a question or comment. We've got one more quick one before we go.
All right.
A viewer is requesting us to do a Jack Nicholson episode.
Oh, I'm down. Yeah. I mean, we got to go way before, probably. We got to go deep into the past on this one. We might have to watch some Jack Nicholson movies, but,
I will say that our wheelhouse is kind of starting with the 80s, and Jack Nicholson, we're going to have to touch into the 70s a bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, you can't go anywhere without talking Jack Nicholson without talking The Shining.
The Shining, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Didn't he do a wolf movie, too?
Yes.
It's like a 70s or 8 wolf movie or something. I can something like that. Yeah. I can remember that. I remember my dad watching something like that. And I mean, Jack Nicholson, I mean, my God, he's a character in a character.
And he's a legend. We've talked to some older actors before, like Stallone and Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of legends we haven't. Pacino, Nicholson, De Niro. So these are all potential future episodes of Talking Baloney that we can get to.
I'm scared to do an episode on Pacino and those guys because, man, you never know.
Final thoughts before we say goodbye. And,
I'm looking forward to hear what the nation has to say about this, where we're going with things. And it's a perfect time to end the show because the dogs are going crazy now because it's thundering outside.
All right.
All right.
On that note, take it easy, Jim Deezy.
All right.
Hey.
Hey, keep washing your hands, folks. Roar. I'm gonna yell.
Okay.